Callan, Dawson, and Jones, welcome back to Sound the Siren. I'm Xavier.
I'm Dylan. Welcome back to another episode. Darce is here as well, joining us as he usually is, and we're doing the Supercoach team reveal, the much anticipated team reveal. And I think we've got a few distinct differences in our sides. Haven't seen them since the last time we recorded. That's where we're keen to go first. Who is?
I can go first if you guys like.
Yeah,
All
who are
right.
you, man?
All right. I'll go second if you'd like, Darce.
All right.
I think mine's probably going to have the least pods. I think that's what I think is normally the case. Hold on, you got to enable sharing.
Sharing?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Here we go. So, just wait for it to load up. That is my team right there. I think the pods that I have, probably Ridley, I think is the least owned out of all my players. Or probably Bose from Geelong. I'm going to get rid of him if he's not named, which I think is looking likely. And then I think it's going to end up being a downgrade from him to Jones, upgrade from Ridley to Dawson. And then I probably won't have any pods really, but I'm missing Philippou from St Kilda, faded the North Melbourne rookie, what's his name?
Drew?
Cheezel.
Cheezel.
Other than that, I think it's probably a pretty stock standard team. I think most people probably have a similar lineup. And Mitchell, I think a lot of good teams I'm seeing without him. He's still pretty highly owned, but I think there are a few that aren't picking him. I'm pretty high on him though, so pretty happy with that pick.
Darce?
Why do you reckon Doherty over, say, Sicily, Stewart, or Dawson?
So Sicily, I think
as well.
Sicily is a little bit more expensive, so I don't really want to pick him. Then Dawson, I think, is right there. As I said before, if Bose isn't named, then Ridley will get turned into Dawson, and I'll be pretty happy to do that. Stewart, I think he's going to be good, but I just really like Doherty. I think regardless of what his role is, he's going to score well. He's proven times before now that he's a proven scorer. If he plays midfield, I think he's going to get a ton of possessions. Obviously, we know centre bounce attendance is one of the best ways to score in the AFL. And if he doesn't, then I think he's going to play off the half back line and get a ton of kick-ins, which is probably the second best way to score. So I think he's just going to be super consistent. And Ridley over Dacos, that's a close one as well. I had Dacos in my team for most of the preseason. I'm just a little bit worried that, like I said before, Doherty's proven before that he's scored over and over again. Ridley's had a couple of seasons where he's gone 100 plus, but Dacos is a second-year player, and while I think the upside is definitely there at 500k, I think he could potentially be a keeper. There's also a very high chance that I could get burnt picking that much for someone that maybe only averages around 90, even possibly less. So, while I think Dacos could be a good pick, I think Ridley's safer, and I value safety a lot.
And the choice of Cowan over McKenna, who I thought you were pretty high on last time we recorded.
Yeah, so I had McKenna up until today. I just traded Cowan in. The main reason for that is if I have McKenna, I can't upgrade Ridley to Dawson. Cowan also just signed a 4-year deal with Carlton today, so clearly they're pretty high on him. They think he's going to do something. Also, we know he's been named, so that's another positive of his name.
Fair.
Yeah. I like the Oscar Baker pick. I know he's gone under the radar, I think, thus far. And Tanner Brunt should be... Is he a pod at the moment? Do we know what his ownership percentage is?
He's on the pod side, but he's been talked about by a lot of the bigger people. So his point of different status may not remain for long, but it's an interesting one. I just don't know if he's going to be much of a good enough scorer, but who knows.
And Ginby as well as Chesser officially named to play in their debuts. I'll go next, Save. Radigalia on the bench. Is that the cutoff, you think, for the amount of bench money?
I think the main one for me with Radically is obviously we know Darcy and Marshall have both had quite a few injury problems in the past, but for me, I can do this and have cover for either of them.
Yep.
I've also got that loophole option in the forward line. If I need to swing something, or even if I swing Davey forward, I could potentially get something going in the midfield here. So I think it just offers a lot of flexibility and, again, a lot of cover and safety, which I've said I value. So, yeah, I'm not that high on Radicalier, but I think the dual season definitely helps a lot. Which is why I picked him over like a Max King or an Oscar Allen. I did really like them as well, but yeah, the dual position definitely helps.
All right, if you can take yours off, I'll put mine on the screen. All right. Now, usually my side seems to be the side that's always a bit left field, but I think it's reasonable this year. Don't worry about the bench too much yet. I haven't completely organised the rookies.
GNB midfield's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we definitely have some pods again going on, like a bit of Liam Stocker, doing more, even Will Gray. Definitely a few pods in there. I think I quite like Liam Stocker. If he's going to play, I think he could score every bit as well as Liam Jones. And if he plays midfield, I think he'll definitely score better. I just haven't seen. Obviously, I didn't watch many preseason games this year, so I don't know too much about what his role is going to be. But if he does get into midfield, I like it a lot.
Which someone highlighted in the comments, I think, is, did you see that, Darce? Take it easy on Zabe. He has been away, hence the Kansas City merchandise. So that's why he wasn't too sure last week when we were discussing all the preseason action. But he's back now.
I think the biggest one for me, one of the first players I've picked, and I think he should be in 110% of teams, is Tim Taranto. At 503k, he comes in almost 20,000 cheaper than doing more. And I think I can't see a world. Obviously, we know he's going to get a lot of centre bounce attendances. I can't see a world where he doesn't end up a top 6 forward, and I also can't see a world where he doesn't score more than doing more. So I think to save 20k and to score more points is probably a good option.
Darce?
Yeah, I don't know about Stocker. Hard to tell there. I've seen that many teams at this point that it doesn't look too out there at me. Yo and Day is interesting. I'm not keen on having both. I feel like only one will work, so you sort of got to make a choice there. Although it is a bit hypocritical considering my team. But yeah, I don't mind it, to be honest. Who do you reckon be your main captain pick going into this week? That could be a good thing to touch on.
I think I'd go with let me just have a look at the schedule. I know the early games, but you could even loophole as late as Saturday Arvo. So if I went Neil Weiss and then turned maybe a Laird into a captain option. I know Laird's supposed to be focused if you're talking about a tag, but to be honest, I don't think that'll ruffle his feathers too much.
Yeah, so that did come out, I think, this morning, maybe yesterday, about Laird being tagged. But I think Laird plays such a role for Adelaide where it doesn't really matter because we know he's going to get a ton of tackles. And he uses the ball so well, so efficiently that I think, and he finds it obviously so well. I think his floor is so high that I don't really see a tag troubling him that much. So I think Laird's going to be a super safe captain option all year, which is one of the main reasons why I picked him over Oliver in my team.
Even a Rowan Marshall could be a captain option, and he's the last game of the round. Depends if the vice captain.
That's such a bold way to start, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely very bold. But yeah, another one that I've realised is Mackenzie from Hawthorn. You faded him. He's 180k.
Yeah, I did have him.
So how come you chose a Liam Stocker or a Connor McKenna over him?
I can see them being a more consistent option. I mean, Connor McKenna, the output you'll receive from him. Liam Stocker's a bit of a punt, and he's a St Kilda boy, so I think that's probably where the risk is involved there. But compared to last year and previous years, I wouldn't say it's as left field as it has been before.
Yeah, is that a good thing or a bad thing though, mate? Has it worked for you in the past?
A stalker pick or just a left
No,
field?
just the left field moves.
I mean, I'd say Stocker and Will Day are probably the only real left field picks. Maybe
So
Dilmore, but I think Dilmore will score, and he's pretty productive on the
I've
field.
got Stocker's scores up here from his 3 seasons so far. In his first season, he averaged 49.6, second 58.4, and third and most recent is 43.7. So obviously he hasn't had a great scoring output thus far in his career. So I think Mackenzie's definitely a better option and he's cheaper as well.
I also
Provided,
think the Blues didn't really optimize his
yeah.
gameplay.
So if you're confident that Stocker is going to play midfield, then I think he could be a really, really, really good selection.
Yeah.
But if he does get pigeonholed into that similar like lockdown small defender that he was at Carlton, then I think he's not going to score that well. And Mackenzie could have greater cash gen and maybe score more as well.
Well, I can gauge off the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, for sure. That's at that price at 216. That's an easy downgrade. Yeah, if he does pop out like 250s and Mackenzie's looking good, then
And then Ginbey will just move to the defence. So we've got the
Never mind it.
flexibility there.
Good stuff, Dylan.
All right. All yours, Darce.
All right.
Like Darce is a little surprised. It's not as outrageous as it usually is.
I'm surprised that no Toronto. I thought for sure he was going to be in everyone's team.
Here we go. Here is my team.
Steele, Kelly, Goulden.
So I haven't gone Toronto because I think in the past, even on GWS, he pretty much had that number 1 midfield role, maybe number 2, and he still didn't blow us away with his scoring. So that's my reason there. He's not underpriced at 500k, and I feel like going into midfield, still with Hopper, but you got some of the guys like Bolton and Dusty already in that midfield, and there's a few other solid ones in there that I'm just not thinking of right now. But Baker, Short running through there as well. I feel like Toronto's not going to blow us away. And he's at 500, so I feel like he's not like Hopper, where Hopper's 330, and he's definitely going to go up like 200k in average. Well, but I feel like he's been a bit overrated here. But I very well could end up having him before the season, anyways. But that's my justification there. And I'm not actually, Goulden's probably my least favorite pick here. I very well could sway away from Goulden as well because I'm just doing this all based off one preseason game. But I've gone pretty cheap in the back line. Don't know if that'll stay necessarily. I might turn 2 of them into rookies and then 1 of them into a primo, but that's how I'm running so far.
So I still think Toronto is a great option. Like I've got his scores up. Only once he's gone above 100 for a year, but we have seen stretches where he's gone like 110, and he's looked really good. I think last year he got I think he played a little bit too much forward, and the year before that as well. But the Richmond midfield isn't going to be the same as the GWS midfield. Like Dimmer's spoken about how Dusty's going to play a lot of forward this year, which I think is why most people aren't picking him despite his reduced price. Cochin is getting really old. Hopper is obviously going to play a lot. Prestia will go through there. But GWS has had a stack of midfielders and really, really good ones at that since
Would you say they had better midfield last year than what Richmond has this year? Because I disagree. I think Taranto's behind or equal to a few more at Richmond than he would have been at GWS. GWS, I'd say last year he was probably number 2 behind Kelly and in front of Green, Tom Green, that is. So I feel like is not going to be that much difference. And Richmond aren't known for having good midfield scorers other than Dusty. Like I can't think of a midfielder I've had in my team of theirs for the last 7 years of their success.
Well, I think So I think Tim Taranto, I think GWS, even if they didn't have as many good midfield options, even if their top end talent wasn't as good as what you're thinking Richmond's is going to be this year, I think they still had more talent. Like the sheer amount of numbers of people that they would send through, like Whitfield would go through there, Kelly, Ward, Hopper. You said Tom Green before, and then obviously Taranto as well. I think they just had a really, really deep midfield, which wasn't difficult to break into as such, but difficult to get a consistent run. I'm trying to get Tim Taranto's CBAs up at the moment, but it's going to take a minute. So if you want to say something, go.
I feel like Kelly's a bit of a pod, I think, just off memory.
It's a toss up between him and Green. Who I
Him and
think
Cornelio and Green are all interchangeable. And
GWS, yeah, I feel like it's between Kelly and Green, but I've run Kelly a few years. He burns me a bit, but when he's good, he's very good.
Tom Green, of course, not Toby Green in this sense,
yeah. So there's actually, I've got it up now. There's a few that I've missed. So even Cornelio played a lot of midfield last year, and then Harry Perryman plays quite a bit, and Tim Taranto last year only attended 44% of CBAs. In 2021, Tim Taranto attended. Sorry, it's just loading. My internet's not great.
And is Himmelberg being announced as a forward this year?
No. The 49 in 2021, and then in 2020, he averaged in Taranto 56, so higher than both the other two, but still not incredibly high. And that 56 was the year that he averaged 102. So I think you have to pick him. But if you guys want to fade him, I think you can do it, but it's going to hurt, I think.
I'll hit you back with another stat. It depends how much you want to look into the preseason game. But Melbourne versus Richmond, 32 total CBAs. Taranto was in it for 20 of them. Hop was there for 25. Bolton was there for 20. Cochin was there 11. Presti was there for more. So Presti got injured at quarter time. So he was in there more than Taranto in the first quarter. So I say that puts him behind Hopper, Bolton, and Prestia. So that makes him number 4 in terms of CBA in that practice match. And then obviously Cochin, Martin, and that didn't have Jack Graham running through there or Baker running through there either. So it looks like based on preseason, he's already number 4. And he could be pushed further down if a Dusty catches fire or, Baker's having a good season.
I reckon I would put a fair bit of money that he would not go lower than 3, I think. There's no way he'll go to less centre bounces than Cochin. I think Cochin's up there too much in age now that he's not going to be able to go to as many as Taranto. Bolton and Dusty are both going to, even though they're obviously great midfielders, they're going to play a fair bit of forward still because obviously damaging forward of the football. Hopper is one. Maybe he gets more than Taranto because he is a bit one-dimensional in the sense that he is the inside midfield that doesn't really do much else. But I can't really see him going to anyone any less than that.
That's fair. Yeah, that was just my thoughts on it all. But yeah, other than that, I could go between English and Wits. I think I'm leaning English at the moment because I feel like he'd be a bit more explosive to the start of the season. We know his injury record. But other than that, I feel like they're all self-explanatory picks. But yeah.
Yeah, it's looking good, Darce. I'm sure we'll all have some last-minute changes. Anyway, I still have to organise my bench and rearrange the rookie.
Yeah, of course. Still planning to change in the bench and that once we see more debutants come through. But at the moment, it's pretty solid base, I feel like, in terms of debutants and who we think are going to be debutants. Yeah. So you should be able to fill your bench with likely players.
The one other one that I want was Jack Bowes from your team, Darce. Obviously, I have him as well. But I think there's a very real chance that he doesn't get selected in round 1. And if he doesn't, what is your plan after that?
Just downgrade him to a rookie, and probably that leads to upgrade of Will Day to a premium. So it'll just completely change my strategy of mid-price to top heavy bottom.
Which I think the defense might be the most comfortable place to start off cheap, in my opinion, because there's plenty of options. The forward lines are lacking a little this year if you're talking about premiums, and then the midfield is always strong, of course. And the ruckmen have plenty of options. It's just whether or not you actually select the correct duo at the start of the season. So I went with Witts and Marshall. Darce, you went with
English and Marshall,
and then Xavier
me and Xavier had a long, high-spirited debate the other day about Sean Darcy, but we won't bring that here because it'll just go for too long. But yeah, we'll just say that we don't quite agree with the pick there.
All right, we'll see who's victorious in week 1 when we review our performances. But how good the footy is finally back, and we'll see how our individual teams go. I think it'll be Xavier's year this year instead of Darce and I. But I'm looking forward to it, boys. Good luck on round 1.
You too, mate.
We'll see you next week. Follow all the socials in the description below and shoot us a DM before Thursday night's match if you want any last minute suggestions or advice on your team. So apart from that, take it easy. We'll see you next time.